Hey, welcome back everybody. Evil's Comics, I'm Evil Mike. Hope you're having a great day. This is going to be my review on new comics that were released on September 15th, 2021, Part 2. Got another 4 comics for you. Let's get into them. DC Comics, issue number 1, I Am Batman. Continuing right after I Am Batman number 0 and the ongoing journey that has been the new Batman story, all the way back from Future State. Recently he has got his own Batsuit. It was a old Bruce Wayne Batsuit that he found inside of the Wayne Tech Tower, where Lucius Fox technically is the owner and CEO of now. Finally getting done with all the court stuff after the Joker War, but technically he is not I Am Batman. He is not the new Batman like 100%. We do see in Future State that he is at that status, but we are not there yet. So we did see recently that he has agreed to work with his father. I forget what his position is. I think he's VP of something. I think it's like of security or technology, something like that. Something where he can keep close, because his little bat cave is kind of tucked into, because he found one of Batman's old kind of caches that maybe Batman forgot himself or just hasn't kind of been there in a while. But they show his little bat cave that's within the Wayne Tech Tower in Gotham City, and he's kind of still building it. While this has all been going on, he does say that he is kind of putting on a face for his father, kind of playing nice for family-wise, but in the same sense still so he can continue on being Batman. We did see recently that he finally built his own, Batman suit using, I forget what it was, but he had his friend Jace use like a mix of like, different technologies, Kevlar and all kind of stuff. He does have like batons in his wrist that come out. He does have different, he has different like stuff that he has built in the suit versus what Bruce Wayne is, because he doesn't have any knowledge. I mean, he's not in contact with Bruce at this moment in the story. Bruce is kind of completely underground. He's still out there, it's just they haven't run into each other yet, and at the moment, I mean, the new Batman hasn't really appeared in public. But this is the first nighting of the new Batman. He's in his new suit. He decides to go with a motorcycle versus a car, or grapple hooks and stuff like that, because he's trying to take a more ground approach to the Batman. He feels like it's one of the things that Bruce was kind of missing, hopping from building top to building top or riding around a plane, as you're kind of missing stuff that goes on the street. But again, he doesn't have any knowledge on Bruce Wayne, or he's never talked to the man before. But we do see a couple different scenes that are going on around Gotham, like nothing new in a night, at Gotham, but as that night is going on, Jace is just rolling through Gotham in the back alleys and stuff. He does run into some taggers, and the taggers are even like, "Oh, Batman's still around," kind of thing. And eventually, after kind of patrolling and riding around, he does run into, I wouldn't say he's not a drunk driver, but it is a driver that is driving too fast and is almost running over people and destroying property and that kind of stuff. So basically Jace does some cool techniques and maneuvers to take the driver out using his batons. They kind of show right here real quickly, but he does end up using his batons to jam the steering wheel. The car does end up crashing in a rather Batman style fashion. It's one of the things that Batman has criticized, and it doesn't look this like Jace is learning in that regard. either. But he does grab the criminal, and he tries to have this, like, moment with the criminal where he kind of like pulls him out in front of the crowd, and he kind of, metaphorically spanks him like like a mama spanks a child kind of thing. He reprimands him, telling him, "Man, do you know what you've been doing? You almost hurt people. You could have killed people." And it's just, he is like a disrespecting looking young male, but you know, that's kind of that. But they kind of jump over to some police and stuff, and they are getting reports of a mask that is running around. Of course, we do have the magistrate in the background, and any mask on site is like a death wish type of thing. There is another incident where some thugs are trying to rob a bank, and Jace, the new Batman, he does pick up on the call, and he shows up and goes in there all guns a-blazing, and ends up taking down the two would-be robbers. He kind of considers all this like training. He hasn't really used the Batsuit out, so he's kind of just testing out that kind of thing, which, as you can see, and the art is just stellar in this book. But his Batsuit does quite well. But there is some complications to the Batsuit, since he hasn't figured out what all Batman keeps in his utility belt. There is kind of one funny nod that at the moment, since he is trying to be so low-key, his utility belt is filled with nothing but burner phones. But it's in the regard of he's trying to keep low-key, but he doesn't also know what Bruce really kept in the utility belt. I thought that was kind of funny. After he does catch the two thugs, he is approached by two of the officers on the scene, and the new Batman instantly kind of puts restraint, forward in words like, hey, you don't have to do this. And the cops, they actually kind of applaud the new Batman, thinking he's just regular Batman. They do notice that there are some differences, and Jace does state that he is not that Batman, but the cops don't kind of put it together. But they kind of just say that, hey, you're cool with us, but maybe be careful around other cops, and you got the magistrate. And Jace kind of turns around and tells him, like, hey, man, maybe you need to go tell your dirty cop friends and this and that they need to be careful, kind of thing. They do have a moment at the very end where we finally get a lead on somebody he's been chasing since the beginning. And the cops evidently got the same clue, and they see the scene here, and it looks like, we won't find out till the next issue, but it looks like Anarchy, the supervillain, has been killed by somebody. I want to assume it is somebody dressed like Anarchy. It might not be Anarchy, but it could be, who knows. Cleaning up ships and shops, huh? Alright, so next up we got Justice League The Last Ride by Zdarsky, issue number 5. Another really good read, really good art. But we are catching up, and it's kind of like a back and forth story. This is the Now storyline, and last we saw was a cyborg Superman was coming for Superman and Flash, and it looks like they did not show everybody that was coming with them, but we see some mine hunters, and we also turns out that Brainiac has taken over cyborg Superman. And so it's like a mix there, and we also find out that some bounty hunters have come along with Cyborg, Superman, Brainiac, but they do show the Brainiac, Cyborg, Superman here, some of the bounty hunters. I'm not familiar with everybody, but I do see a Black Lantern. Inside we got, Hal Jordan and Batman, and they're trying to figure out anything on what's going out, because right now you got Superman and Flash trying to deal with what's going on the outside, and you also have Wonder Woman and like Jon Stewart in space, and they're trying to prevent other people from getting there, along with like Wonder Woman, but she is fighting Mongol in space, trying to keep his armada from reaching the planet. And all this, if you don't know, is to keep they have Lobo imprisoned, and they are trying to take him to trial, and basically all these villains are all of a sudden showing up trying to get Lobo. Basically it's a whole bunch of fighting back and forth between the forces. Mongol pretty much, fighting Wonder Woman, and then eventually Green Lantern. Mongol stating that Green Lanterns pretty much have little effect on Mongol because he is a natural, like, yellow colored person or something like that. But eventually there is a statement that is tossed out by Wonder Woman while she's fighting Mongol that, why does he want Lobo? And Mongol just states that he really doesn't want Lobo. He doesn't know what she's talking about. He's kind of an emperor, and he's just coming to Apocalypse because Darkseid isn't there, and he wants the resources. They do end up defeating Mongol and sending him on his way. So they do get a break. We do catch up with Superman and Flash, and they are dealing with Brainiac at the moment. We do see that they have found some kind of secret door inside the facility while they were looking around, and as they open it up, it looks like there's a bunch of Darkseid clones that are in here. That's what I'm assuming they are. I'm not positive. They go back into the back storyline. It's basically like how Darkseid was taking over everything, and he is back on Oa, and he is defeating all the Green Lanterns, while the Justice League were trying to stop him. Eventually, while all that was going down, we know that Martian Manhunter, to shut down Apocalypse, basically Martian Manhunter sacrificed his life, and it did shut down Apocalypse. Let's see. There is an altercation between the heroes about Batman letting John take his life, and Batman just saying, I didn't let him do it, I didn't want him to do it, but it was a sacrifice, They go back on Apocalypse and the massive fighting that is ensuing outside the facility, and they show Steppenwolf and the other iterations, and basically trying to tell all of Darkseid's forces that Darkseid is dead, but we know that he's not, because right over here he is on Oa, and he is getting closer to the main power battery, which all the Green Lanterns try to protect him from, but he cracks it and then takes the power himself. And at the very end, he just states something like Darkseid is power, and he doesn't need the power source. Apocalypse looks like he has merged with the Green Lantern main power core, and that's where this issue ends. So I don't know. Next up from Marvel, we got the Trial Magneto, issue number 2. It's a really good issue, but this is all about Scarlet Witch has been killed, and everybody is accusing Magneto of killing his own daughter. The last time we left the story, they had kind of captured Magneto, because they gave him some time to kind of confess and stuff like that, but all the evidence was kind of leading into his path. The book starts out and it's like Magneto, and he's kind of having a dream, well, technically he's kind of chilling in Krakoa, and he feels like Professor X is, in his mind watching him. But we do see it is not that case, that he is not in, he is in Krakoa, but he's not where he thinks he's in. He's there in his mind, and they're just showing him, the world around him. But we find out it's Professor X and Hope, and they are trying to, talk to him and see if he will confess to the murder of Scarlet Witch. There is a conversation over here between Hope and Professor X, and Hope feels like it's entrapment, and she doesn't like the whole conversation that's going down and how they are approaching it. Professor X saying it's not really entrapment, they're just sorting through facts and truth kind of thing. At the same time, because it was the Scarlet Witch that died, of course, we have the Avengers showing up with Vision to collect his wife, her remains. This is the first time that the Avengers have been to Krakoa, the planet, so it is kind of a monumentous thing. But there is this thing in the background where for some reason they don't, the X-Men and the Krakoans do not want the Avengers to get involved. They don't want her to see her body, that kind of thing. I'm pretty sure there's a mass explanation for why that goes down, but they don't really go into it, the book, at least I didn't go into it. But they do show up by surprise, and Polaris and Jean Grey, since Professor X and Hope are dealing with the Magneto thing, Jean Grey and Polaris are kind of the only two other people that can deal with the X-Men, trying to cover up that they need Scarlet Witch and what's going on with Magneto type thing. They don't want the Magneto thing to blow out of proportion kind of thing. So White Queen on her own kind of kicks in, and she uses her, her telepathic wiles, and she creates this imagery of a beach and her daughters at the beach, and it is her daughter and her, but there is no beach and all that. They do show what's behind them, and it is like the mass amount of mutants that is in Krakoa. But as far as the Avengers are concerned, all they see is White Queen and her daughters. There is a scene right here that is, before this it's followed kind of by like some script, but we do see that Scarlet Witch is kind of like being reborn, like resurrected, and she kind of states it in the script. And they kind of hinted at it at the last episode that she technically wasn't dead. Finally they are waking up. Magneto, Hope is kind of like gently waking him up and explaining what's going on, explaining that the Avengers are here, asking him to be reasonable, that kind of thing, and he does not take it in that fashion. There's some great moments here, like Captain America and North Star, and eventually Quicksilver shows up, and Quicksilver says some snide remark to Captain America about not being there for Scarlet Witch, or that this or that, and Captain America has this really, really touching a sentimental thing that he says to Quicksilver about Scarlet Witch, and I mean, it's so touching it makes Quicksilver run off and cry, and he even applauds Steve for what he says. We do find outside that Magneto is just going nuts, and he is creating all kind of havoc for whatever reason at this point outside. But it does draw the attention of the Avengers, and the Avengers don't want to get involved because it's not their fight or anything like that. So they do go to the X-Men, offer their help, and basically tell them, hey man, if you can't handle him in the next 10 minutes, we're gonna have to get involved, kind of thing. And the X-Men agree, tell them they won't need that long to take him out. There is like some cutover scenes where Polaris is the one to go up against Magneto. There is some other scenes with X Factor and how they are uniting to basically protect some of the fall damage kind of thing, make sure that too much damage doesn't ensue. We do see that the 10-minute mark does get reached, and the Avengers break into action, and Magneto just kind of like, he takes Cap's shield, he messes up with Vision, but eventually North Star's husband walks in. He teleports into Krakoa, and as he does, all this is going on, and Magneto kind of snags him up. And on both sides, the X-Men and the Avengers, they are kind of weirded out. And North Star is freaking out because his husband has nothing to do with this. He even states so to Magneto. Magneto is like, oh, it's because he's a human is why I'm involving him. And he's kind of a part of this and everything. It almost gets to the point where Magneto is about to kill, and I think his name is Hank, but that's his husband's name. But about to kill him, and as soon as that happens, and they're kind of like, why? And he's like, because you're accusing me of the death of my daughter. And all of a sudden Scarlet Witch shows up, and she's like, that's kind of a lie. I'm here. Hey everybody, how's it going? She kind of shows up, and she's like, yeah, some stuff happened. I'm back, but she was like, can we not talk about it? I don't feel like it right now. She runs over and sees Vision, and runs up and puts a big old slobbery one on his lips. They do reunite happily, and that is basically where the issue leaves off. And we're going to have to find out, maybe she gives us some details on what happens. Last but not least, we got GodKiller, Tomorrow's Ashes, number 3. A very strange story, but one that I've exceedingly love. I do love the art, the story. It's weird. It's got sex magic. Yep, and I said that, sex magic. If you have not heard of the story, I have reviewed the first 2 issues. You'd have to go sort through some stuff, but they're there. I think the number 1 got a first, like an only video style. Alright, so we are still walking with our 2 main characters. I'm not going to go into names. I forgot everything. I think this is Half-Pike and I'm drawing a blank. I might remember in a second. But they are still dealing with Half-Pike selling her eyes, and technically she's blind. She has replacement eyes, but I want to say 25% blind or something like that. But she, in the last couple, I think in issue number 2, she split open her middle, and she did use some of that sex magic I mentioned, but she is still kind of dealing with that damage and has lost a lot of blood. I would just call her the bounty hunter, because that's what she is. But the bounty hunter and Half-Pike continue. They're trying to get to a safe location, so they can rest and figure out what they're going to do. So they do go back to the bounty hunter's shop, because the eyes that she lost, and I know this sounds extremely strange, but the eyes that Half-Pike sold paid for the rent. So that's basically where they're going. And it's kind of like this back and forth conversation. The dialogue is where this story is at. It is superb. All this dialogue between Half-Pike and the bounty hunter, and Half-Pike, kind of on the verge of dying because she's lost so much blood, but it is back and forth gold. And then we do catch up with, at the facility, and I think the brother's name is Tommy, and that it's kind of the main point. They're trying to save Tommy. Tommy is featured on the front cover, and that's kind of what's all started GodKiller, but right now they are on this journey to save Tommy, and so we are catching up with Tommy, and Tommy has recently escaped, realizing that he had a dream that he thought they implanted all this metal in him, and come to find out they really did implant all this metal in him. So now he's got metal arms, but he has been using that metal in his body to escape and beat the crap out of people and doors and whatnot. He does run into one of his past, maybe a past friend or something like that, and then the guy is basically kind of brainwashed by this, the people that work at this facility, but he does eventually, convince him to help, as far as the escape is concerned. And he does tell him, hey, well, I can get you out this way, let's go that way. But we do find out that the boy just ends up selling him out, that he was more brainwashed than we know, and he just leads him to the security, and kind of like a hunter that's already dealt with Tommy before. It's funny because when the hunter walks in, he talks all this stuff, and the hunter's name is Jeremy. But this time around, it is not quite like that, because now with Tommy realizing he has the metal, he just starts busting up all the security people, and basically telling Jeremy that he can go F himself, But like a true hunter, this guy Jeremy does not back down. Back and forth, the fight kind of goes back, and he does put up quite a bit of fight with, our main guy Tommy. Eventually, to the point where they are tagging him with these arrows. Most of his body has metal under the skin, but they keep kind of tagging, hitting him here and there, and you can see one of the arrows hitting his cheek. But it's not just Jeremy, but there's some more security drones in the background, and they're just kind of firing these little darts as it goes. And he doesn't realize it, but all the darts are laced with a tranquilizer, and as you can see, he gets hit by quite a bit of them. But the security detail and Jeremy, they don't realize how encapsulated in the metal he is. So even though it is hitting the skin, it's not really doing anything. They at first, but they kind of change the chemical makeup in the tranquilizer, and it makes his skin kind of like this watery material, as you can see right here. And that's when they finally can start doing damage to this Tommy guy, because they kind of, it's like they alter his DNA, and all of a sudden the water is the metal is like a watery substance, where you can see that guy Jeremy just punching through his whole body. Eventually he does get beat down, and he does have like one known soft spot that you could think of, and it's, you know, in the top part of his mouth. And that guy Jeremy just, you know, shoves it, one of the regular trank darts, you know, right up there to make sure that he goes back to sleep. And basically they they try to send him back to his room. Without knowing it, though, that the trank, evidently he grabbed an empty trank or something like that, because it did not work. And you know, our boy Tommy gets up and ends up you know, maybe getting rid of that guy Jeremy, you know. But we just see that basically he escapes, he gets set free. We jump back to, he escapes that room. I don't know if he escapes the facility, I shouldn't have said that, but he escapes that room. But we do catch up back here, and you know, the bounty hunter kind of has this weird scene where she's almost, it almost seemed like the whole time she was really going to betray Half-Pike, and she was just, you know, they really didn't go where they were supposed to go. She really was just misleading her. Half-Pike was like half, you know, dead and everything, so she wasn't paying attention. And there is like this, I mean, you talk about reading the scene, and I was like, what the F? I mean, it goes this far, we got this far in the book, and this girl's gonna betray her now. She could have blown her brains out, she could have cut her, done all this stuff, and we get here, and this is where she chooses to betray her. Nope, it's the crazy ass dialogue. She does end up stitching her up. She kind of uses some thread from her jacket, and then kind of uses the jacket as like kind of a makeshift tourniquet, saying that they're going to need to get you know, more you know, better medical. But basically at the end of it, it's just them two breaking into the hideout where they've been, and that's where the book leads us off. But it looks like the bounty hunter is taking care of Half-Pike in the right way. On the very back issue, it looks like we are getting another volume. It says the saga continues this fall in GodKiller Spiderland. I don't know if this is the last issue in this arc. I hope not, but if not, we have another arc coming, right? But these are my reviews. Like, comment, subscribe. Did you read any of them? Did you pass any of them up? Let me know about it, right? Right. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.